Very promising signs that something is going to happen with Andre in January. And I think if it did, it would be absolutely huge for Liverpool Football Club. What is up, guys? It's James from Cop Logic. Welcome back to the channel. And it is the international break, which means news around the first team is a little bit slow, but the rumour mill is heating up towards that January transfer window. And we've got a little bit of news this week on a couple of targets. So we're going to start with news about Andre from Fluminense, but we will be touching on Kone towards the end of this video. So make sure you stick around for that. So let's start with the big one, and that is Andre. We made a couple of videos on this during the summer transfer window. As things were sort of closing towards the transfer deadline, it was a question of whether Liverpool were going to be able to pull the trigger on Andre or not. We knew he was a target for Liverpool at the time, but we'd also seen a lot of very reliable sources saying that Fluminense were very reluctant to sell the player before the end of their season. Now, their season ends in December, so as we reported back then, that would mean that Andre would be available in the January transfer window if Liverpool was still targeting a defensive midfielder at that time, and if Liverpool was still willing to go back in January. So the question right now is whether or not Liverpool still need a defensive midfielder. Obviously, we made the signing of Endo over the summer. We've still got Stefan Bajcetic at the club. Alexis McAllister's been playing in that position fairly regularly, and we know Curtis Jones can do it as well. He was doing it a lot in pre-season. Not seen so much of that during the season though, so I think that's perhaps a sign there that Klopp is not really happy with Curtis in that position. Now, what we have seen, interestingly, is Alexis McAllister starting a lot of games in that defensive midfield position. Now, with me personally, my opinion is that doesn't really work. I don't think he's really very well suited to it. I think he makes a lot of mistakes when he's in that sort of dropped back position. We've just seen it very recently a lot against Brighton. A ton of mistakes there from McAllister. And I don't blame him because, again, it's not his preferred position, and we know what he can offer going forwards when he's in a more advanced position up the field. Alexis McAllister alongside Dominic Szoboszlai, that's our best central midfield in my position in terms of creativity, in terms of attacking momentum moving forwards. Ryan Gravenberch coming into the team, he was a signing that we thought could be more a defensive signing, but every time we've seen him play, he's played in that more advanced position, and he does, to be fair to him, seem like an attacking threat. So I think the acquisition of Ryan Gravenberch is more to do with bodies in that central midfield. We've obviously got Curtis Jones there as well, and Harvey Elliott. So I think we are stacked in terms of more progressive midfielders, but what we don't really have at the moment is depth in that defensive midfield area, which is why we're seeing the likes of McAllister play. Now, Endo is an interesting one because I thought he would be getting more game time than he is. I have to assume this was discussed with Jurgen Klopp pre-contract arrangement, the minutes that he's getting, because it seems odd to me that he's not getting as many starts as you would expect a new signing to get. I know he's 30 years old, but he's still very capable of putting on a performance. I don't think he's done that much wrong since he's came in at the club, but there must be a reason Klopp is reluctant to give him as many starts as we would expect at least. But as I say, I can only assume that has been pre-arranged and pre-agreed by the player, because otherwise it's a little bit harsh, and it kind of reminds me of the Minamino situation where he came in and he just never really got a chance to show what he could actually do. And finally, Stefan Bajcetic, he's injured at the moment and he's a little bit young anyway. We wouldn't be expecting him to be a regular starter in that DM role. So conclusively, I think the answer is yes, Liverpool need a central defensive midfielder still at this moment. And I have absolutely no doubt that Andre would be the perfect player for Liverpool, especially if we could get him in January. And the good news is we've had some very reliable sources talking about this very thing this week. So we'll start with Ian Doyle from the Echo, very, very reliable journalist, and he said that LFC haven't forgotten about Andre. Now, before I move on, I like to think that that is an Eminem reference. You know, Ian Doyle was definitely bumping 2001, Dr. Dre, so respect to Ian Doyle for that. Shout out. But he goes on to say, LFC haven't forgotten about Andre, and a key date is coming into focus with another defensive midfielder arriving sooner rather than later. Now, that sooner would be the January transfer window rather than the later of next season in the summer. And Graham Bailey on the Talking Transfers podcast said, I think, and he's talking about Liverpool here, said, I think they're first in the queue. He's definitely leaving Fluminense in January, and he may very well be turning up at Anfield. Now, I think this is very promising signs that something is going to happen with Andre in January, and I think if it did, it would be absolutely huge for Liverpool Football Club, because if we can keep ourselves in and around that race for, I'm going to say, the title, I think, you know, we'll certainly be in with the top. I mean, the top four right now is so tight. That's a good thing in terms of a title run as well, because if things stay how they are now, where there's only a couple of points separating the top four, if that's like that at Christmas, and we make a signing like this that could really solidify our midfield. You know, if we bring Andre in, he's going to be a starting central defensive midfielder for as many senior games as he can. That's going to give us the opportunity to play Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai together in that central midfield, and we're going to finally have a locked-in starting 11, a best midfield for Jurgen Klopp. And then we're going to have the likes of Wataru Endo to come in late game, like James Milner used to do and close those games, that sort of Jordan Henderson role. We'll have Stefan Bajcetic available for the Cups, and, you know, we're going to have so much more diverse rotational options. To bring him in January, if we're still within a title race, certainly still within a top 4 race, that's going to be huge for us to solidify and push on. And, you know, who knows what we could be capable of, who knows what we could drive for and achieve. So this could be an absolutely huge signing if it happens in January. He's only 22 years old as well, so it's definitely future-proofing. It fits in with that rebuild of the midfield that we know Jurgen Klopp wanted to do. Obviously, Wataru Endo's 30 years old, so there's a little bit on the older side. You know, he's still perfectly capable of putting on a performance, but to bring in a class act 22-year-old, slot him into that midfield role, in the one role that we are a little bit dicey with at the moment, you know, playing the likes of Alexis McAllister in there in big games, it's not really helping us. And this is twofold, because we bring Andre and we solidify that defensive midfield, but it also allows us to start playing Alexis McAllister in the position that he excels in. So I think this is a huge one. And before I finish, I wanted to touch on Manu Kone, because it actually kind of supports the idea that we're going to go in for Andre in January. So it was reported last week that Liverpool were genuinely interested in Manu Kone. This is in the summer, and would likely have signed him if he hadn't sustained a knee injury in the under-21 Euros, which is a huge shame because I really like the player. I think he would have really fit Liverpool's midfield. He can play in that DM role. He can also play in a more advanced role. So he was a very versatile option. But that said, maybe what we really need here is an out-and-out defensive midfielder, which is exactly what Andre is. So again, I think he is the perfect signing for us, especially in this January window. But continuing on with the Kone news, a clear indication that this opportunity is now past. It was reported yesterday by the Liverpool Echo that Bayern have made contact with the representatives of Manu Kone. So if we were to assume that Manu Kone is now off the table, then that makes Andre target number 1 for that defensive midfield role. You think about the other targets we were linked to in the summer, Kefren Turan, for example, is a way more advanced midfielder. We brought in Dominic Szoboszlai, so I think that kind of put that one to bed. And now, you know, if the choice is between Manu Kone and Andre of Fluminense, then it looks to me like Andre is now the number 1 target, and we're kind of letting the Manu Kone thing slide us by. So it's a shame for Kone, but I think it's probably the right decision for Liverpool Football Club. And again, as I said, this could be an absolutely huge signing for us in January and really allow us to solidify ourselves in the top 4, but also push on for a potential title race. I'm not going to say that too soon. Let's see where we are in the table by Christmas. Let's see how many points are separating us from whoever's top of the table by then. But could be a very exciting January, so make sure you guys stay locked down to this channel for all your latest news and updates. You know, we absolutely killed it during the summer transfer window, and we'll be doing the same all the way throughout the January transfer window. So if you guys want to stay up to date with all the news regarding Liverpool and all the transfers, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Give the video a like if you have enjoyed it. And as always, guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you want Andre at Liverpool in January? How do you feel about us letting Manu Kone go? And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.